Have you ever been rejected by a woman, even when you did everything right? I'm not talking about flirting wrong or failing to impress. I mean, you showed consistency, respect, and emotional stability, yet somehow she pulled away, left you confused, frustrated, questioning yourself, and maybe even wondering, what am I doing wrong? Well, here's the twist most men never see coming. Being a good man isn't always enough. And that's exactly what I want to break down today. By the end of this video, you're going to understand the hidden psychological trap that keeps so many men chasing the wrong women, and why it has almost nothing to do with you personally. Now, before we dive in, I want you to do something for me. Go ahead and drop a comment right now if you've ever experienced this, where you tried your best, played it straight, and still got rejected. I want to see how many men are stuck in this loop. And if you're watching, make sure to like the video so more men wake up to this truth. Let me start with a story. A friend of mine, let's call him Jake, he's the kind of man every woman should want. Solid career, emotionally stable, honest, reliable. He respects boundaries, communicates clearly, doesn't play games. Yet every time he met a woman he liked, something strange happened. She'd pull away, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically, and Jake couldn't figure it out. He was doing everything right, but it felt like being invisible. Here's the thing. Jake was running headfirst into a psychological trap that almost every good man faces at some point. And to understand it, we need to look at the first key point: conditioning over preference. Conditioning over preference. You see, many women are unconsciously conditioned from past experiences, culture, or even childhood that love comes with drama, tension, and emotional highs and lows. Their nervous system has learned to associate intensity and unpredictability with passion. Stability, calmness, respect, it doesn't compute. It feels strange, dangerous even. Think of it like this. The human brain is wired to notice the unusual. When a woman encounters a man who is consistently stable, emotionally present, and respectful, it triggers an unfamiliar signal. Her nervous system says, wait, this doesn't fit my map of attraction. This is different. Proceed with caution. Here's an example. A man, let's call him Ryan, shows up with clarity and consistency. He doesn't chase, doesn't overanalyze, respects her space, communicates honestly. She likes him, at first. But after a week, she starts pulling away for no reason. No fights, no misunderstandings, just distance. And Ryan is left scratching his head. Why am I being ghosted when I'm literally being the best version of myself? This pattern is what I call the pullback reaction to stability. Women unconsciously feel discomfort when faced with something unfamiliar in the emotional arena. Their nervous system doesn't know how to handle calm, respect, and steadiness because they've been conditioned to expect chaos. Here's a small question for you. Have you ever noticed women creating tiny dramas or testing you when things are going smoothly? That's not necessarily a reflection of your value. That's the nervous system reacting to something unknown. 2. Familiarity over quality. Now let's move to the second trap, familiarity over quality. Here's the reality. The human brain, including hers, doesn't always recognize quality when it's never been seen before. If she's never experienced a man who is truly stable, respectful, and principled, her brain might misinterpret his value. Stability feels unfamiliar, even suspicious. Chaos feels normal. Drama feels exciting. Let's go back to Jake. When he meets a woman who's used to emotional roller coasters, she unconsciously compares him to her past experiences. The nice guy who tries to please constantly grabs her attention because he feels familiar. He mirrors the unpredictability she's used to. But the good man who simply lives with integrity, quietly doing the right thing without seeking validation, triggers something deeper. unfamiliarity. She might even unconsciously ask herself, why is he not reacting like everyone else? Why doesn't he push for me? Why doesn't he fight for attention? The irony? The very traits that make him a high-value, grounded man are the ones that feel foreign and even threatening to her patterned expectations. And here's an insight I want you to hold on to. Perception is more powerful than reality. Even if you're objectively better, her brain will respond first to familiarity. That's why recognition comes slowly. And that's why good men often get overlooked. 3. Trauma bonding, attraction to chaos. Now, let's go deeper into something that's rarely talked about. Trauma bonding, or the unconscious attraction to chaos. Many people, men and women, carry emotional patterns from past relationships, childhood, or formative experiences. If her past love experiences were tied to pain, unpredictability, or intensity, her body literally learns to link emotional turbulence with love. Think of it like adrenaline addiction. Calmness feels empty. Predictability feels boring. But chaos sparks her nervous system, makes her feel alive, alert, and even addicted to the highs and lows. Here's a real-life example. I know a man named Mark, solid, reliable, and patient. The woman he was dating had a history of high-drama relationships. Every time their relationship was calm and stable, she started creating small conflicts, pushing boundaries, or withdrawing emotionally. Why? Not because she didn't like Mark, she felt uncomfortable with peace. Her body craved the emotional adrenaline that instability brought. And if you've ever been in a relationship like this, you know the signs. She might sabotage peaceful moments, pick fights without cause, or even push you away when things are going smoothly. It's not personal. It's a neurological pattern rooted in past trauma. Number 4, the savior trap for good men. All right, now let's tackle a trap that so many good men fall into without realizing it. What I call the savior trap. Here's the scenario. You're a man with integrity, empathy, and strong values. You naturally want to help, support, and fix things for the woman you care about. You notice her stress, her emotional fluctuations, and you step in. Maybe you try to soothe her mood, adjust your behavior to keep her happy, or even sacrifice your own time and goals to maintain harmony. Sounds noble, right? But here's the catch. This pattern often backfires. Imagine Jake again. He's dating a woman who has been conditioned to seek drama. Every time she creates tension, he steps in, trying to calm her down. He compromises his schedule, cancels plans, and constantly checks in to stabilize her emotions. Over time, Jake starts feeling exhausted, even resentful. His life begins revolving around her emotional landscape, and ironically, the more he tries to save her, the less attracted she feels, because deep down, she's unconsciously addicted to emotional unpredictability. The savior trap is dangerous because it blurs your boundaries. It tricks good men into thinking their value is measured by how much they can fix another person. But in reality, it drains your energy, clouds your judgment, and distances you from your own purpose. Here's the key insight. The more you try to control someone else's emotional state, the less control you have over your own life. And the more you stretch yourself to match someone else's drama, the more likely you are to get caught in a cycle where your efforts never feel enough. I want you to pause for a second and reflect. Are you doing things to gain approval or affection, or are you living according to your own values? That distinction is critical. Because when you fall into the savior trap, you're chasing something that is never meant to be caught. 5. Integrity as a filter. This brings us to the next point, integrity as a filter. Here's where the twist comes in for good men. Integrity isn't just a personal virtue, it's a magnetic filter. It automatically separates people who are ready for healthy, mature relationships from those who aren't. Think about it. When you live by your principles, honor your boundaries, and refuse to compromise your core values just to please someone, you send a very clear signal. You're not desperate, you're not manipulative, and you're not bending to someone else's chaos. You're simply authentic. Let me give you an example. Mark, whom I mentioned earlier, finally learned this lesson. Instead of constantly adjusting to his partner's mood swings, he started holding his ground. He kept his routines, maintained his friendships, and didn't sacrifice his goals for temporary peace. What happened? Some women walked away. And you know what? That's exactly what needed to happen. Because the women who left weren't capable of appreciating a stable, principled man. They weren't ready to meet him at his level. Meanwhile, the women who stayed, those who could match his energy and respect his boundaries, were the ones who truly mattered. Integrity acts like a natural sieve. It keeps the wrong people out and attracts those who are genuinely aligned with you. And here's a subtle but powerful point. When you stop bending, stop rescuing, and stop compromising, you reclaim your energy, clarity, and focus. You stop chasing, and instead, you start being pursued by those who are genuinely compatible. Now, let's pull all these threads together and get to the twist that blows most men's minds. You've seen it in the stories. Jake, Ryan, Mark, men who did everything right, yet faced rejection. Why? Because attraction isn't always conscious. A woman may reject a man not because he's lacking, but because he represents something unfamiliar to her nervous system. Remember the first points we discussed? Conditioning, familiarity, trauma bonding. Those patterns live deep in the brain. They override logic, good intentions, and even conscious desire. A woman may consciously like a man, but unconsciously, her body signals, this is unusual. This is different. This is safe. I don't know how to process it. And in response, she withdraws, creates drama, or subconsciously sabotages the connection. This is the paradox of attraction. The better, calmer, and more principled you are, the more dangerous you may feel to her patterned expectations. And that's exactly why being a good man is not always enough. Here's a key question for you. Have you ever felt confused when a woman suddenly distanced herself, even though you were treating her with respect and consistency? That confusion, that's your clue that you're bumping into the psychological trap. Let me share one more story to make this crystal clear. A friend of mine, let's call him David, met a woman who had a history of chaotic relationships. David is disciplined, grounded, and emotionally intelligent. In their early dates, he maintained his routines, communicated openly, and didn't play games. She initially seemed intrigued, but after a month, he noticed subtle shifts. She stopped initiating texts, became slightly critical, and even pushed for attention in manipulative ways. At first, David thought, am I not doing enough? Should I be more attentive? But then he realized she was uncomfortable with his stability. His calm, principled approach triggered unfamiliar feelings. And when he finally decided to maintain his boundaries and focus on his own life, something remarkable happened. She either adapted positively, showing genuine interest in a stable connection, or she drifted away entirely. Either outcome clarified the reality. He was no longer wasting energy chasing someone misaligned. This is the power of integrity as a filter. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent with who you are and what you value, and letting reality sort out the rest. By now you've seen the patterns: conditioning, familiarity, trauma bonding, savior trap, and integrity as a filter. And here's the revelation that changes everything. Doing everything right doesn't guarantee success in love. Crazy, right? You followed all the rules, treated her with respect, been consistent, communicated clearly, and still it doesn't work. Why? Because attraction is conditioned, not conscious. A woman's brain reacts first to what feels familiar. Stability can feel alien. Calmness can feel unsafe. Respect can feel distant. And unpredictability, drama, or emotional chaos, things you'd never even consider healthy, can trigger excitement. Here's the twist most men never realize. You're not failing. She's not rejecting you because of who you are, and it's not a reflection of your worth. She may literally be reacting to something deep in her nervous system that hasn't caught up with logic yet. Think back to Jake, Ryan, Mark, and David. They weren't inadequate. They were too good in a way their partners weren't ready for. Their calmness, consistency, and integrity were like mirrors showing patterns the women couldn't yet face. And here's the kicker. Once you understand this, you stop blaming yourself. You stop chasing. You start seeing rejection not as failure, but as a filter revealing who is truly aligned with your energy and values. Let's connect the dots with the 5 key points from this video. 1. Conditioning over preference. She's wired to feel drawn to chaos. Stability feels strange. Familiarity over quality. If she's never known a stable man, she can't fully recognize his value. 3. Trauma bonding, attraction to chaos. Past pain links to emotional highs. Calmness feels empty. 4. Savior trap for good men. Trying to fix or control drains your energy and misaligns the dynamic. 5. Integrity as a filter. Staying true to yourself automatically filters out misaligned people. When you spot these patterns, you gain clarity and agency. You stop spinning your wheels in relationships that aren't built for mutual growth. You stop giving away your energy to women whose nervous systems aren't ready for a healthy connection. Here's a practical reflection. Ask yourself, am I chasing someone because of who they are, or because my energy keeps reacting to their drama? The difference is huge. One path leads to exhaustion and confusion. The other leads to alignment, respect, and authentic attraction. I want to share one final story. Let's call him Alex. Alex spent years dating women who pulled away despite his best efforts. He tried to rescue, please, and match every emotional high. And he was burned out, frustrated, and doubting himself. Then one day, he consciously decided to stick to his principles. He stopped chasing approval, stopped adjusting to drama, and started focusing on his life, goals, and happiness. He maintained boundaries, honored his time, and embraced his integrity. Here's what happened next. Some women walked away. That hurt at first, but the relief was instant. No more second guessing. No more emotional exhaustion. And the women who stayed, they were genuinely drawn to his energy, his stability, and his authenticity. Alex realized a life-changing truth. Being a good man is never a weakness. It's a strength, but only if you understand the patterns and refuse to compromise your values. Now that you understand the psychology, here's exactly what you can do. 1. Maintain boundaries and principles. Define what you will and won't tolerate. Do not adjust core values for approval. Your boundaries are your energy shield. 2. Recognize patterns early. Observe if she reacts poorly to calm, stability, or honesty. Notice if drama seems to trigger her excitement. Awareness is the first step to avoiding wasted energy. 3. Focus on your energy and life. Your purpose, health, and happiness matter most. Stop living to manage someone else's emotions. The right woman will naturally align with your life, not disrupt it. 4. Use integrity as a filter. Let your authenticity attract compatible people. Releasing misaligned connections opens space for those who match your energy. Trust that staying true is the fastest path to fulfillment. 5. Stop chasing, start observing. Step back when patterns emerge. Ask yourself, is this a woman who complements my life or challenges my stability? The answers become obvious when you stop compromising. Before we wrap up, here's what I want you to do right now. Comment one sentence below saying, I'm done compromising my values. Hit like if this video opened your eyes to patterns you didn't understand. Share this with a friend who's tired of chasing the wrong women. And subscribe to reclaim clarity in relationships and life. Remember, being a good man is not a flaw, it's a strength. The problem isn't you, it's the patterns, conditioning, and nervous system responses of those who aren't ready for your energy. When you internalize this, you stop chasing, you stop overextending, you start attracting people who are truly aligned, people who respond positively to your stability, integrity, and emotional presence. And that, my friend, is the freedom every good man deserves.